Well, folks, Microsoft is going to own Hearthstone and the rest of Activision Blizzard King. You might have heard the news announced earlier today. Microsoft is acquiring all of Activision Blizzard King for a record breaking nearly $70 billion, the largest acquisition in gaming by like tens of billions of dollars. It's absolutely crazy, earth shattering news in the gaming world. And clearly, it's going to have some implications on Hearthstone and beyond moving forward. And I wanted to try to talk about some of those concerns you might have. And I think ultimately this is going to be either fine or perhaps even good as we shift from one corporate overlord to another. There's always some trepidation, but I don't see any major, reasons for alarm right now. And given Activision Blizzard's track record recently, it almost couldn't get any worse. So I think this might be a net positive overall for Hearthstone, and I wanted to talk about that. So first and foremost, I thought we'd discuss here the cultural implications, because we've heard so many horrific stories within Activision Blizzard over the last year, dating back, of course, even further, of all these cultural problems, harassment issues, just terrible leadership across the board. And this is an opportunity for a bit of a reset, which I think could be nice. It's been said that for the next year and a half, it'll take for this deal to close. It sounds like Bobby Kotick and crew will remain at the helm of Activision Blizzard, but then at that point, they will then report to Phil Spencer at Microsoft. I think Phil Spencer's a generally well-received dude in the world of CEOs. So at that point, many people are expecting Bobby Kotick to exit and kind of leave the reins to Spencer, because people think his ego is so large, he won't want to answer to Spencer. But regardless, there's somebody else at the top, and that can create some changes in leadership, and hopefully that can have some positive cultural implications trickling down as far as how things are done. So, I already think there's been really positive changes at Activision Blizzard internally, as people are now paying attention and seeing all these terrible things happening. So I already hope a lot of that's been resolved internally, but this is another opportunity to kind of keep evolving in that process and, get rid of the old guard, essentially, that represents so many of the problems of the past. And I honestly think that can have a big impact on development. When you have developers who are more at peace and at ease, you start to see creativity, you start to see people who are happy to be at work instead of sad. I think that all incrementally adds up to a better developer. So it may seem like less important from a day-to-day standpoint, but like culturally and psychologically, I think that makes a difference and could really be a new lease on life for Blizzard, essentially kind of escaping these horrors of the past and moving forward, and maybe just improving the reputation, generally speaking, for things like acquiring new hires. People might want to work at Blizzard in the future again, restoring some of that reputation of old. Now, of course, it's still corporate overlord. There's still risks and problems there inherent, but I do see this as a bit of a reset point for Blizzard that might actually be fairly useful and might positively impact games, honestly. Now, beyond that, I think I want to talk about the sort of monetization side of things and what this might mean for monetization. Now, if I'm thinking about this really positively, there's an angle that says, okay, look, like Activision Blizzard had a lot of pressure to monetize. Bobby Kotick was all about pumping out content. He wanted those yearly Call of Duty releases no matter what. Regardless of quality, we had to hit these quantity marks and had to make everybody a billion-dollar franchise. And, I think a lot of monetization pressures existed in Activision Blizzard. Hearthstone in some ways had that from the beginning almost with the pack model, but we've seen more and more of these microtransactions entering into World of Warcraft and Call of Duty throughout the years. And although that is a gaming-wide industry trend, I think it was particularly prevalent at Activision Blizzard under Kotick. And I think that could ease a little under Microsoft, theoretically. Microsoft has such a ballooning umbrella of studios here and a billion other ways to make just oodles of money across their entire ecosystem, mostly on the enterprise side of things, that I think there's a little bit less pressure for each individual studio to perform quite at the level. Now, that said, they just spent $70 billion, or will when this deal closes. So there will certainly still be expectations to be profitable. It's just kind of like, will it be as ingrained? Will it be as day-to-day? Will it be as infused in design Or will that ease up a little bit, right? Will they have just a little bit longer leash to design for design's sake as opposed to for monetization's sake? Now, the other side of that conversation, where I'm less hopeful, is that we just saw Halo Infinite, for instance, delayed a year, which was kind of cool. Like, oh, okay, let's make sure we get it right. That seemed hopeful. But then also there's been some big criticisms regarding Halo Infinite's monetization as a free-to-play game. People have there's just like really crazy battle pass restrictions, and you just get like just practically nothing for free. I haven't played it, but I've just seen there's been an uproar essentially about the monetization for Halo Infinite. So if that is the model that Microsoft is kind of expecting to implement, that could almost be bad. It's been terribly received. So I guess it could be good, could be bad, depending on perspectives and how things kind of unfold. Generally, the gaming industry, though, is getting worse and worse from monetization. So I guess I'm not super hopeful, but there's a chance that this offers an opportunity to change things up and go in a good direction. Beyond that, one upside might be that these games all become a part of Xbox Game Pass. If you don't know Game Pass, you pay $15 a month or whatever, and you get access to a bunch of games, whether on Xbox or on PC. I've subscribed for a while. I think it's $15 a month, maybe 10, like Outer Wilds and Mass Effect Legendary Edition and all these free games, right? We could see Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, for instance, pop up on Xbox Game Pass. I think we're expecting like Starfield from Bethesda to pop up as a day one release on Game Pass, where you just get to play it for free as long as you are a subscriber. So that might help some of the top level costs of these full release games. As for how that impacts Hearthstone directly as a free-to-play game, I don't know. Maybe something like the Battle Pass could be a part of a Game Pass subscription down the road. I'm sure that would take forever to implement. All of this stuff is probably like 3 to 4 years away just because of how these things work. But possibilities there exist. Maybe we get some free bonuses just for being a part of the Xbox system here, essentially. That could happen indeed. Just realized this background's going to look way better because it's not so bright. So my apologies to earlier in the video. Now, on top of the like free stuff you might get in Game Pass, there's also the question of where Blizzard games will live. Like, will Hearthstone be in the Battle.net client? Will it get to exist on mobile? And Microsoft already confirmed that they're still planning for these mobile games to live on mobile platforms. There are concerns there because we've seen things like Starfield, for instance, be confirmed to be Xbox exclusive as opposed to being on PlayStation, which has created a huge uproar. But for things like Candy Crush, of course, Xbox isn't going to buy Candy Crush and then not let it be on phones. And I think we'd expect the same for Hearthstone. And in fact, they've even teased like cloud gaming being a goal where you could play other games on your phone. So we might even see more emphasis on mobile, which for Hearthstone is a good thing because many of you still play Hearthstone on your phone, not your PC. So it's good that that's not going to be taken away or disrupted for a large part of the player base. Now, from a PC standpoint, we might lose the Battle.net client. Who knows? Might stick around, but we might also get fused into the Xbox client instead. Functionally, I don't think that's a huge change or anything. Probably a headache here and there, but who knows? Battle.net might stick around as an autonomous feature of Blizzard, or they might want it all in one spot, or maybe it'll just exist in both. So I guess the next question is, does this mean that Master Chief could be in Hearthstone? Could we get, these outside IPs that are now internal IPs to show up in Hearthstone? Blizzard's teased many times they'd like to get other IPs into Hearthstone. They were going to start with like Diablo because, that's local to Blizzard. But now all of this has connections. So like Master Chief or Skyrim as a part of Bethesda, you could have Skyrim somehow popping into Hearthstone or some kind of connection there. It becomes a real possibility. It's not likely. I still think it'd be really hard. There are still legal hurdles to get over there, despite all of them being under this same umbrella. But it's more possible than it was in the past. Do I want Master Chief in Hearthstone? No, of course not. But could it be? Yeah, if somebody puts in the time and work to make it happen, it's absolutely not impossible. Certainly more doors are opened up than ever before. As far as outside IPs are concerned, because they're no longer outside IPs. So let's try to recap all of this, basically confirming that we know nothing. Will there be monetization changes in Hearthstone? Maybe. Will they be for the better? I don't think they'll be for the better in Hearthstone, but they might be for other Blizzard properties. Like World of Warcraft might be a part of Game Pass. Overwatch Diablo might be free to play at release. Under the Xbox Game Pass subscription anyway, or PC Game Pass subscription. So maybe Hearthstone's not great there, but everybody else at Blizzard is relieved. And if you like other Blizzard games, you might be happier. Will there be technical changes as far as the Battle.net client is concerned, platforms you play on? For Hearthstone, I don't think it'll be a meaningful difference. I think everything will be all right there. Will there be gameplay changes? Maybe. I think both design might have a longer leash that's perhaps more separate from monetization in some ways, and access to other properties and such is a possibility. And then finally, will there be cultural changes? I hope so. I hope that this allows Blizzard to move forward in a positive direction yet again. I just saw this tweet pop up from Hearthstone developer Alec Dawson. Many of you will know Alec. He actually doesn't work on Hearthstone anymore, but still at Blizzard on another new game. Alec mentions being hopeful for the first time in a long time that the right changes will come to leadership, pay, and work environment. So clearly still some of those questions left to be answered at Blizzard, and people are noticing that this is an opportunity for that reset that I mentioned. So that's awesome. I'm certainly rooting for my friends at Blizzard that this is an ultimately good change. And, again, I have trepidations always. We're talking about one of the 3 biggest companies in the world, depending on the week, by market cap. It's sometimes number 2, number 3, whatever. Big corporations can be problematic, but ultimately, I think Microsoft has been doing okay stuff in the gaming sphere. Some missteps here and there, like the Halo Infinite monetization. But I love Game Pass, for instance. I think it's actually a great deal as I suck up to my new corporate overlord in Microsoft. So, hopeful with hesitation, I think, is where I'm standing from this standpoint. But that said, I'm really curious to hear what all of you think. Do you think this is going to be a good change or bad change? How do you think it's going to impact the day-to-day world of Hearthstone from a design, technical, or monetization standpoint? Curious to hear all those thoughts, because really right now we're all just sort of onlookers. We don't really know how this is going to happen. It's going to take a long time to happen, and we're going to see it unfold over the next few years. So still curious to see what everybody thinks as of right now. That said, thanks much as always for watching, and until next time, game on.